Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for the return of the live streams. I do apologize. I know it's been a long time. I took a little bit of a break, and then I returned with obviously the video with Simon Johnson and Pies in midweek, or whenever it was. I can't even remember. Days just blur into one at this point. But we're back. We're finally back. I already see 74 people here, so big up to all of you guys. Smash the like button. Get subscribed if you haven't already, because we have a lot to bloody talk about today. Obviously, whether you think we're overhyping it or I'm overhyping it, we'll see what the other guys think or not. It's a different question, but it's still interesting. And let's be honest, the last 2 weeks have not been very interesting at all. Otherwise, I would have returned much sooner. Anyway, we're here to talk about a lot of things. And as you can see, we're joined by three very, very special guests. I'll start it off because something very incredible has happened. Mr. Now, as I call him, Mr. Verified, ConnCFC has, joined us from what's the word? Like, he's graced us with his appearance, of the famous people, of the celebrities. Con, how you doing?
I actually hate you, bro. No, I'm good, bro. I feel a bit rough today. The weather's horrible. Had like a massive thunderstorm earlier. So yeah, just one of those days, isn't it? One of the days in the house. Chilled Sunday.
Exactly. There you go. Well, maybe we'll get to even cheer you up a little bit. Lewis, of course, my brother in crime. I'll get to him in just a second. First, I want to introduce Mr. CarefreeJam, part, of course, of the Chelsea Social. Check them out down in the description below. Jam, it's been a good minute. I know you've had a good weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. And just how you been? How's your summer been, man?
Yeah. So far, so good. I've personally taken a little bit of a break from a lot of streaming because, obviously, as you'll all know, the lockdown restrictions got lifted, and literally every weekend there's just been something to do. Just recovering from a wedding I was at on Friday, so I'm here to get livened up by you gassing us up, my friend.
There you go, brilliant. And like I said already, my partner in crime, Mr. Carefree Lewis G. Of course, check out his channel down in the description below. Lewis, obviously, I know you were streaming earlier already. You gassed about this news that we got this morning, or is it a case of let me not get too overexcited before we know more?
Bit of both, really. Like, the excitement with Erling Haaland just phased with me at this point. Now I'm just like, hurry up and get the deal done. Sooner the better. It's literally every day there's another Haaland stream. I'm just talking about Erling Haaland for an hour and a half, and I'm here for it. Like, I'm setting up the streams and everything, so I don't care too much. But it's every day, man. Like, I know these sorts of transfers take time, and I'm not going to sit here and be completely impatient. But same way, I'd like us to move on just a little bit, like just speed it up a bit. But yeah, we look like we're in good progress. I think half of what we saw was legit, and from the follow-up post that CFC News page put up, it feels a bit more legit as well. So it's the same thing that we've always said: time. It's about time and just seeing how long it takes for us to pull this deal through. But things are falling into place for Chelsea slowly and surely. So, like we said, we've got to play the patience game, but we're here. It's another Erling Haaland stream, so great to be a part of it.
Brilliant. I do actually have to say, seeing it's not in person, but seeing it like on a real person, the kit from this upcoming season looks a lot better on you. I will say this, because to this day, I still kind of hate it. But seeing you with it, maybe it's just because, you're amazing, Lewis. But
oh, thank you, man. Now, for me, I can't lie. This is still one of the worst kits I've seen us get in recent years, probably in the Abramovich era. But it's also the only kit that has 2 stars on it, so suddenly I like it a lot more. That's the only point.
Literally, you're just bringing that drip, man. Love it.
I will also say I love that kit Jam's wearing. I tried to order it the other day, but can't remember. Some online store, they only had the women's version anymore and not the men's. I'm like, well, it's a bit pointless, that, isn't it? But hey, it's just a kit. Anyway, what I actually was about to tell these guys off air, and then I realized that'd be a bit stupid because I literally explained it on stream again, and then they'll just hear it twice, right? So basically, I was on Alex Goldberg's podcast the other day with Pice, and he kind of, one of the questions that one of his Patreons asked us was, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are your panic levels at? Because so many Chelsea fans have kind of been losing their heads over the last few weeks. We haven't signed anyone. What's going on? What do we do if we don't get Haaland or don't get Lukaku? What even happens? Is our squad good enough to do anything? This and that. And we let Billy go. We don't have a midfielder. What on earth do we even do? And Pice said, like, he's on a 7. Goldberg is like on a 5. And, we obviously joke CFC Daily must be on an 11, right? And I must be different to everyone else because I'm, I don't know, 2 or 3. Because I felt like Chelsea must have a plan. Like, we've seen Chelsea fail transfers before. but Chelsea don't fail transfers without trying. And until this morning, really, we didn't hear any real trying. So that's why I wasn't really stressed about it yet, because I'm like, sure, if you don't get someone, that's fair enough. But Chelsea don't not get without trying, right? And like I said, to me, it hadn't felt like we had properly tried yet. And to me, there must have been a reason for that. And it seems like this morning we got a little bit of an inkling what those reasons may or may not have been. And that's why I'm pretty positive about this. Do apologize about the background noise. That's why I'm pretty positive about it. And that's why I think, I don't know, it makes sense to me. At least all the way the report has been made and put out, I suppose, just makes a lot of things make sense, in my opinion. And I'll start with you, Con. Do you agree? Do you think it makes things make sense that we've kind of been questioning of the last few weeks? And I'll actually nick that, question from Alex's Patreon. Where are you on a panic scale from 1 to 10?
Right now I'm about 6, I think. Just a bit over a 5. Because some days I'm all right and some days I panic. It just depends what I read, I guess. But I think the things that make sense is I'm not really going to buy too much of what that Instagram page said, because I've just had enough of ITKs for the summer. Like, I'm tired, Laurenz. I'm tired. So I'm just waiting to see, what happens. I'm going to be patient with it. But seeing Juventus sign Haaland, seeing them target Demiral now, and we all know that even after selling Sancho, they weren't in the best position financially. They're going to get influx of money from somewhere. And I don't see them selling a Royce or a Thorgan Hazard, you know what I mean? So that gives me some sort of, positive signs there. And the question I always tell myself is if they're going to get 64 mil next season, guaranteed, he's not staying past next season, 2,000%. Why wouldn't they sell for more than double this summer? Just why?
Because Dortmund are weird.
Bro, it's like they don't care about winning stuff. They're just okay, we hold on to players and we're hard to negotiate with. That's their trophy. Shut up, man. You're not a serious club. Serious clubs.
Has anything to do with the Champions League qualifications for next season? Because that's what I thought it was.
Probably, but it's still a bit.
If they ain't making top 4 without Sancho and Haaland, they scraped it this year.
But bro, that's not their problem. So their problem is not the attack, because scoring goals wasn't Dortmund's problem last season. It's their defense. Oh, yeah. They have 2 bum goalkeepers, a very aging midfield and defense. If you sell Haaland for over 100 million this summer, you can buy 3 or 4 players to solidify that top 4.
But then their attack also gets weakened, doesn't it?
But bro, it's Bundesliga, bro. We see Timo Werner there. He's one of the best strikers there. You can buy a good striker, he doesn't have to be a world class, just a good striker, and he'll do a job. And how Dortmund play a very attacking side, they need to sort that back line out and their 2 goalkeepers, because I watched both of their keepers last season and both of them made horrific mistakes. They remind me of Kepa in a sense. So they need to buy players.
I think it's they already have the 75 million, is it? No, that's in 5 installments, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I hear what you're saying a lot.
Are they only getting the Sancho money in 5 installments, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's 14 million every year for 5 years.
Yeah, and it's not just that.
That's so ridiculous.
They was even struggling.
Man United thinking, we're the biggest club in the world, and you can't pay more than 14 million a year.
That's why it took 18 months.
Dortmund for accepting it, man. That's stinky fucking installments that you're paying every single 14 million a year for Sancho.
Scumbaggery, isn't it?
I didn't even United could negotiate that well, but here we are.
See, I was gonna literally right now say, while I do love to read into it and I love, to jump on the hype train, the way that the Marlon thing seems to now be done, Marlon from PSV to Dortmund, and also that they seem to be interested in Demiral, the centre-back from Juventus. I was going to say, what if it's just because they now got the Sancho money? But now that you've just informed me about this, clearly can't be that, because you're not signing those two with 14 million, are you? So, unlucky. I'll move on to you, Jack. And if you want to, because you told us off air, you don't really like to pay too much attention to these types of slightly smaller rumours, but obviously we'll see whether CFC news page turns out to be true in the next few weeks or not. Because if he is, then I think we need to pay a lot more attention to him in the future. If he's not, well, I suppose we'll find out a little bit more, I suppose, in that sense. But I actually like him. I've spoken to him. I'll talk about what he told me on DMs as well in a minute. But I want to know, where were you on a panic scale before this morning and after this morning? Obviously not in life in general, right? Let's not get too deep. I just mean it does to Chelsea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll just clarify to everyone listening what I said earlier. I'm not really one for paying attention to all these small transfer updates here and there, especially for these big deals that will take time, because it's just, you will get frustrated. Like, I detached myself emotionally from the transfer window just so I could enjoy my summer. Do you know what I mean? But having said that, there are some updates that will make you kind of stand up and listen. Do you know what I mean? And this one, I saw it this morning and I was a bit like, oh yeah, go on. And like Con said, you know, when you know, we spoke about the follow-up story, you mentioned that just before we went live. I'm actually listening to it now. I'm waiting and I'm up. Like, I'm paying attention to this. So what I would say is, on the panic scale, I'm actually about a 5. I'd say I'm halfway. Like, I'm completely detached emotionally from it. But as the weeks go on, we've only got 5 weeks till the transfer window closes. Now I'm starting to think, as soon as we cross and get into August, I'm a bit like, shit. Yes, it's been Exodus FC. Yes, we're losing players left, right, and centre. Fine. But I need to see something else going the other way soon. Do you know what I mean? I need to see more of these big updates coming. Otherwise, you know, going into next season as we are we going to be putting in the title challenge? Probably not. But, you know, we just need that elite striker. I need to see Haaland coming in. I really do.
Yes, we do. But I definitely hear what you're saying, and I think we'll discuss it more anyway. With at what point should we get more worried or whatever. I do just quickly want to put it on screen, the story that we're all talking about, just in case any of you haven't actually seen it or read it fully, and then I'll get Lewis to explain the follow-up post by CFC News page as well. But let me just read it out for you quickly. Obviously, this morning you posted Erling Haaland update. I was told on the 17th of July that Chelsea have lined up a £130 million bid for Erling Braut Haaland to test the waters of BVB, meaning Borussia Dortmund, which will be offered imminently. However, it is said that the offer would be kept in secret till Dortmund finish the transfer of Marlon, so that PSV don't take advantage of the bid, which to me makes a lot of sense, which is what I kind of hinted on in the intro, I suppose, in terms of now it makes a little bit more sense why we waited. The team Haaland, in quotation marks, as Jan Age Fjotov says, are tempted by Chelsea's offer. They see Chelsea as a significant step in improving Haaland's game with the chances Tuchel's team create game after game. They are also excited about the financial package Chelsea offers. Haaland can get his wages tripled from £100,000 a week at Dortmund to £300,000 a week, which personally, we'll discuss this in a second. I was expecting much more in wages, and when Matt Law said the 300k a week the other day, I was like, I don't even see the problem anymore. Anyway, and with Alfie, his father, and Mino Raiola getting 40 million euros, which Abramovich which will be settled from personal checks by Roman Abramovich. And, you know, we'll get onto the follow-up post in just a second. If the bid does get rejected by Borussia Dortmund, then I'm told Chelsea will go in with another bid, which will be £130 million, like the first one, but adding to that £20 million of add-ons in bonuses. The bonuses then include £5 million for winning the Premier League, £5 million for winning the Champions League, £5 million for a fixed number of appearances at Chelsea, and £5 million for a fixed number of goals scored at Chelsea. The feeling inside Chelsea is that they are confident they will land Erling Haaland this summer. Now, like I touched on, whether you want to believe this now or not, whether you like or in the know someone, we don't know his face off, he's not a journalist working for the Athletic, or it's not Fabrizio Romano. Everyone has to know for themselves how much attention they want to pay to individual people. I put it to Lewis now because obviously there was a little bit of a question mark. Is that even allowed to personal, basically paychecks directly to Haaland's father and obviously to Mino Raiola? Is that even a thing? But he did make a follow-up post, didn't he, Lewis?
Yeah, just getting up now. It said, I've seen quite a lot of slander against my report on social media handles and DMs on a specific bit about my Erling Haaland news today, so I feel I should clarify it. Statement regarding agent fee has been widely misinterpreted. As clarified in one of my comments, through the phase outside the transfer budget, I meant 40 million euros will be pumped into Chelsea's transfer budget, which is the transfer budget promised to Tuchel earlier, and player sales through the personal checks of Abramovich. Agent fee won't be a problem if this deal is to break down. So he's basically saying that the money that was that he said Roman is going to pay separately, he isn't paying separately. He's putting that straight into the transfer fund so they don't have to worry about the agent fees. He's personally financing that.
There you go. It makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me that, Roman really wants this deal. We've heard that for weeks, for months, right? So the fact that he would say, okay, I must sort this part, you the club, in terms of how obviously they operate as an entity, I suppose, as a separate entity, and the Marina Granovskaia for the most part. You saw the transfer fee. You guys saw, the whole negotiations. You guys saw the wages. I'll make sure, the father and the agent, that's all done, right? To me, that makes sense. And I put the question to you as well, Lewis. On a scale of 1 to 10, on a panic meter, if you want to call it that, did this morning's news change anything for you, or were you always calm and relaxed, or are you still stressed about it even after this morning?
I'm not stressed. I'm at the point of I'm just tired. When it happens, it happens. But we've known a lot of the situation for a good few weeks now. It's just every single report we hear kind of makes you think that things are changing when really and truly they aren't. Like, if Erling Haaland comes, he comes. If he doesn't come, we're going to have a late push for Lukaku. If that doesn't happen, just focus on Kai Havertz for the season. But anyone saying this is like 2017, it's not. 2017, we had a team with no depth, which won the Premier League based on the fact that we were only in 2 competitions for the entire season and we had so much rest. So we were physically not prepared for that season. Also, with the fact that our team was worse than it was the season before because we lost Matic and we lost Diego Costa, we were in a terrible place. Now we're not in that position anymore. If we don't get a proper striker, cool. We're probably not going to win the league this season. Guaranteed if Harry Kane does go to Manchester City. I don't think we'll be in a top 4 battle, though. I think we'll be comfortably within 2nd or 3rd place. I know we want to win the league and everything, but I'm not really in a state of panic. Like, we're not a mess of a team. Our team was a mess in 2017, and I get it. And I get the recurring pattern of us winning a big trophy and then just not getting the funds or the players that we need in the summer because we get complacent. And I don't want that to happen again either. But it doesn't mean that we should panic. If we don't get Erling Haaland, it is what it is. Like, Kai Havertz, I've seen enough of him in the last 4 months that if we were to push through with him and make him our optimum choice for the summer, for the season, cool. I'm fine with that. It's not the ideal scenario, but we aren't screwed. Like, already as a squad, the only team that's better than us, in my opinion, is Man City. So we're already, in my opinion, we have the 2nd best squad in the league. All we need is a DM and a striker, and we're there. If we don't get a striker, just guarantee that we have a tall, imposing DM in the squad, and a goal-scoring striker is the only profile that we need left in the squad. So we're not a mess. So I don't think people should be panicking anyway. But Erling Haaland, like, you just have to wait and see. Like, we know that we're the main team interested in Erling Haaland. We know that we're front runners for it, and there's no one else competing with us. If we get Erling Haaland, we get him. If we don't get Erling Haaland, is what it is.
It's weird because genuinely, I totally agree with you. But I think for my kind of how I'd feel about not getting him, it depends on why we didn't get him. Did we not get him because we offered 5 or 10 million too little? At which point I'm like, that's ridiculous. If you're happy to offer 130, just offer 150. Offer 160. Like, what difference does it make at that point? Surely, right? Depending on what kind of difference it is. If it ends up that Dortmund were just refusing to sell pretty much at any price, I'm like, hey, you can't always get what you want in life. It's as simple as that. He's contracted to them. If they would rather lose or get 100 million less the year after, hey, all the best to them, I suppose. And we try to get Lukaku. But if, like I said, it depends on why we don't get him, if we don't get him. But let's be positive and let's not assume that we'll get him, but let's at least continue contemplating the idea of getting him. Scott, appreciate the donation a lot. Said, don't start panicking for 3 weeks, is what Simon and Dan McCarthy, of course, said on their podcast. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure about the weeks number, but yeah,
how many weeks ago was that, though?
I think it was in the latest pod that came out a couple of days ago.
Ah, okay, cool.
So it's like, like Jam just touched on a minute ago, we have 5 weeks left in the transfer window, which on the one hand, you can see as not a long time. On the other hand, 5 weeks, you're in the middle of the season. That's like 10 games. Like, that's forever. 5 weeks.
Like, we're already talking about Haaland needing to adjust when he comes to the Premier League. He still needs to adjust to the squad too. That's why I wanted the deal to get done earlier, but like you said, you don't always get what you want.
I do agree with that. At the same time, I'm like, when I see some of the chances we have created, I'm not even sure whether he needs any adaptation. He just needs to stand there and just tap it in and be our first player to actually tap
everyone's
a goal
talking
in.
about our chances, though, but like we could talk about the quality of chances as well. And I think that needs to improve from us too. That's why I'm not really hearing all of this. We'll make chances for him. That's why I'm not really hearing all of this. We'll make chances for him. Like, we'll make some chances for him. And I don't think Erling Haaland's going to be a complete flop in his first season. I'm not saying that. But I also think anyone who thinks he's going to have the same numbers he was at Dortmund or have the same instant impact, Premier League is different. And we've seen it too many times with Bundesliga players coming into the Premier League for us to just go in blind again and think Haaland's just going to run the league next year. Give him a year or year and a half and we'll see it.
I agree with that, and he's a young striker, so there's going to be some sort of inconsistency whilst he's adapting. I do agree with that, but do you know what I mean? This guy, man, I call him the Norwegian Drogba for a reason. I still think he could do a lot on his own. Do you know what I mean? Like, he can still.
I think he's capable of it. I think this is going to sound controversial, but I don't take this as a dig. I don't think he's as technically sound as everyone is overhyping him to be right now, but he can get there. Which is why I'm saying, like, my worries with Erling Haaland is only the first season. As soon as he adjusts to the Premier League, cool. We will have one of the best strikers in the league, maybe even in league history if we want to go that far. But he has to adjust. Right now, he's very raw, especially when he'll come into the Premier League. You'll see that a lot more because he won't have nearly as much time on the ball. Once he learns how to adjust to that, and once he learns how to use his body as well, because like you said, Norwegian Drogba for a reason. I feel we'll turn him into a bit of a centre forward, and then that's where you're going to see more the links between him and Didier Drogba. But I also think he's going to be levels more prolific, which is why long term, excellent move from us. But at the start, you're not going to see it. Same way like with Didier Drogba, you didn't see it in his first 2 seasons.
Yeah,
that's why the only worry is about the start.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Actually, I agree, and I think it's just a case of. Like the comment there I just had up on screen by Thomas Lee, we do create a lot of chances. Yes, not all of them are always 100% sitters, but that's where you need a top striker. And the better the striker, the lesser chances he will take, if that makes sense. That's kind of why you pay such big money for strikers, because that's the difference they're bringing. Yeah, Haaland doesn't take every single chance, but Haaland with his movement and his strength and his pace gets more than most and then scores more than most. You can't really ask for much more. Obviously, Lewis makes a fair point. He does usually have quite a lot of space in the Bundesliga, as most players do over there. Like obviously if we never signed Timo Werner, I think I'd be so much more excited about Haaland than I already am. Like imagine if we didn't have this Werner example of scoring 30 goals in the Bundesliga and then doing absolutely F all in the Prem. Like if we didn't have this example, we'd say 250, no problem for Haaland. Go on then. Like if it wasn't for Werner, I will get to Con in just a second because I do kind of want to know what you feel about what both Lewis and Jam just spoke about. Is it a case for you like we need to just get this done and we need to get it done as quickly as possible, or do you almost agree with Lewis that hey, if it happens, amazing, but if it doesn't, we're still going to be okay?
I don't know what's okay in terms of Chelsea, because the board ain't saying top 4 is okay. They're just not. Well, we might settle for a top 4 if we can't get a perfect striker, but I don't know if the board will. And I'm sorry, there's no better manager right now in the world than Tuchel, so you back him. You give him whatever he wants, the tools to succeed. You back him 100%, because I remember putting my fucking neck on the line when Lampard was on his way out, and I was like, Tuchel's the guy. And I wasn't just saying that because I don't know, it was something to say. I genuinely meant it because he's so good. He reminds me of Guardiola in a sense. He's just a student of the game. He's just there with anyone. Tactically, he's there with anyone. And
you got the most slander for that tweet, I remember that. I'm glad you got your flowers for it too.
To be fair, Con was hyping it early.
Yeah, bro.
Your Dars ripped into him for that, and now Pulisic and Tuchel have a Champions League. It's glorious. I love it.
And look at him now. Con's verified as well.
Yeah, bro. Verified genius, but I'm joking. But yeah, we need to get it done as early as possible, because like Lewis said, he needs to get used to the squad first and foremost before even talking about the league. Because remember when Kai came, he had 2 days training or something before he first played, and let's say he didn't look too good playing behind Reece James at right wing back. Remember that game against Brighton? Yeah. So it needs to get done as soon as possible. But Dortmund are just a pain. Any other club, I'd be so optimistic with this. Even if it was like a Madrid or something, I'd be so much more optimistic. But I don't know what Dortmund's problem is. I honestly don't understand how that club works. Like, you're not competing for the title. If you don't sell him this summer, you're giving more of a risk to losing him to Bayern next summer. Like,
I hear that, but like they're stubborn, but they're not the worst. Like Napoli are the worst. The Laurenz in the bin.
we got
Like,
Samuel Jorginho in the window.
Dortmund give you a price tag and they just say, hit that price tag and we'll talk. And
Bro, we don't even know if that's a price tag. That's what we've been told by ITKs, but we don't know if there's like an official price tag yet, you know?
With them saying this thing about 2 bids, though, I think, and with Chelsea also expecting the first bid to get rejected, I feel like there is an understanding of what they want. Like, I know CFC news page said 130 plus 20 add-ons was going to be the next one. I don't think that'll be enough either, because you're still just offering 130 million. Yeah, the 20 million is in add-ons, and some of them are relatively easy add-ons that they'll probably hit anyway, but they're still not getting it immediately, and they're still not going to be getting as much up front. I think for me, the bid that gets accepted is 150 plus 20 add-ons, because then you hit the 150 threshold that they want, and there's a bit more in add-ons as well that they are going to get in time, and Chelsea will have time to recoup that money anyway.
But Lewis, the mad thing is, bro,
they need 150. Go on.
I was looking this up the other day because I was just bored, and Chelsea got 140 million from the Premier League in terms of positioning and TV rights from overseas and from the UK. So 140 million there. I think we got somewhere around 60-ish mil for winning the Champions League. I think we get another 50 million for qualifying.
By the way, that 60 million is just for winning it, right?
Yeah, just for winning.
Extra money for every round before that as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Champions League is more than that.
And then we sold 50 million's worth of players, and I think it was Nassar who said that Chelsea haven't even spent all the Eden Hazard money yet. So we're sitting on a lot of money here. So like, people seeing this figure and thinking this is outrageous, but we can afford it. It's not like this will bankrupt us or put us in a bad place for FFP, because it won't, because our net spend, I think only Liverpool have a healthier net spend in the top 6. And that's even regarding Tottenham and Arsenal. Over the last 5 years, their net spend's worse than those. And if we're doing by the 3 year
we
period,
had a year of transfer ban where obviously the net spend is always going to be made nicer.
And because FFP is a 3 year period, I think ours is, I think it's just Tottenham and Liverpool's in the top 6, or the traditional top 6, who's got a better net spend than us. So, like, in terms of financials, like, getting Haaland is not a problem for Chelsea at all. So that's why
it really shouldn't be.
But that's all the more reason not to panic either.
Yeah.
Because now, like, I didn't even really know the full numbers that we got from the end of the season. I just knew we had a lot of money. Now you're literally telling me we have the Haaland deal, probably plus another 100 million more. No one needs to panic. This is just negotiations then. Like, he'll come. Dortmund are not straight up not selling, because I feel like we would know that by now. It's just there's a price tag that I think Chelsea want to try and lower down a little bit more.
Well, I think it was.
I completely agree. One second, because before I want to explain or tell you guys about what CFC news page told me in DMs, I do quickly want to, just because you brought up those numbers, right? You can't just imagine those numbers as purely they go into the transfer budget. Obviously, Chelsea have things to pay, right? We have staff, we have players, we have a manager, we have like security at Stamford Bridge to pay when we now come back. Like, there's things that need to be paid, right? It's not like all of this money that we made from the Premier League, the Champions League, sponsorships, we don't have all of that available in transfer budget. But still, and obviously every club in the world lost some money because we didn't have any supporters for a year, pretty much, right? Obviously, that loses you a lot of money as well. The bigger the stadium, the bigger the loss. But still, it's a loss. But still, we clearly have plenty of money, which is, I think it's just Chelsea weighing up within themselves what's worth it. Probably also knowing what Raiola wants, that this kind of get-out clause, like how high that's going to be, how much is it worth it to pay to Dortmund for him, if that makes sense. Because I think if it's just about what can we afford, it's not unlimited is probably the wrong word, but I don't think we'd have to stop at 150 if it's just about what could Chelsea in theory afford. Obviously, it's also about, do we want Rice? How much is Rice going to cost? Do we get Tchouaméni instead, who is a lot cheaper? Do we get a centre-back? Those are the questions that obviously need to be added up before we think about how much Haaland's going to cost. But basically, I messaged CFC News page, and big up to him as well. Whether you think he's now the guy, obviously I'm not saying he's the Athletic and Matt Law now, or Fabrizio Romano, but I just thought, let me message him and basically ask him how confident he is in his own story, just, wondering what he said. And by the way, I clarified this with him. He's very happy with me to share this. So he explained he's very confident, to be honest. I've had this news since last Saturday, as of course he explained in this post. And I saw Football Insider post my news in the week. Carefree Youth said this. This week CFC were preparing a bid, and also Jan Fjotov also said about something about a bid being prepared a few days ago. So these things are aligning, right? If that makes sense. He also said he spoke to a couple of journalists behind the scenes and they agree with his news. I think they're getting confused though. And a lot of people are. We haven't bid yet because people said, why is nothing happening then? If we made a bid, why don't we know more from the big journalists? It's not official yet. The bid isn't official yet. It's imminent, as you said. And I personally came up with this theory on Mrs. channel on the other side of the coin the other day when I said, I reckon that the journalists, especially the likes of Matt Law, also some of the Athletic that are close to Chelsea, probably know more, but they're probably told by Chelsea, hold off, don't speak on it yet, because we need this to go well, otherwise we can't pull this off, right? And this whole story now coming out that basically they had to wait until they had the Donny Marlin deal secure from PSV Eindhoven. To me, that makes sense, because obviously PSV would probably ask more money if they know, Dortmund were just paid like 150 million from Chelsea for that guy. So clearly we can ask a bit more. So to me, that all makes sense. By the way, guys, we have nearly 800 people watching. Big ups to all of you guys. Get subscribed if you haven't already. Smash that bloody like button. We just hit 11K the other day, but let's get to 12K. Why don't you? There's 800 people here. Chances are not all of you are subscribed. So get subscribed right now and put something in the chat. If you want to use the super chat function, of course, you're always very welcome to do so. He then said he had to wait a little bit with, releasing this information as he didn't want to put his own reliability at risk. But in the week, things started to add up, so he shared it. He then explained a couple of other things. And basically, in his opinion, this 150 number of being their number that we need to hit is true. Obviously, again, that's just what he's saying. I'm not saying this is factually true. He's saying he thinks this 150 is true because I basically asked him, does he actually think, like Lewis, I had this slight worry. Is 130 plus 20 million in bonuses, is that enough of hitting 150? Because it's not even guaranteed, because 5 million apparently of that is winning the Prem, 5 million of that is winning the Champions League, and the other ones are numbers of appearances and goals. So none of these are absolutely guaranteed depending on what number of goals and appearances we're talking about here. But he's pretty confident, and 150 million pounds seems to be their number, if that makes sense. But he also said the longer we leave it, the harder Dortmund will make it for us. I'm not quite sure why, if they already have their striker replacement personally, but still, that's just what he said, basically. Just to clarify, that's what he told me. And now I want to ask you, and I can't remember, someone tweeted this question or this poll almost. Was it Pice? Was it someone else? I cannot remember for the life of me. I do apologize to whoever did tweet it out, because someone asked the question. The responses kind of surprised me, and I'll start with you, Jam. The question was basically, would you be annoyed if we start the first league game or even the Super Cup game? Let's take the Super Cup game against Villarreal with the exact same starting 11 as starting in the Champions League final. Would that annoy you? Would that trigger you? Would you be absolutely calm? Or do you know what I mean? Was it Dan McCarthy?
Yeah.
No,
I don't know who it was, but I wouldn't be annoyed. No, I wouldn't be annoyed. I mean, I've said I would like Haaland to come in. And, from what I'm hearing from you guys, I'm a bit more optimistic. I can see more reasons for it happening. But I wouldn't be annoyed because we still would have a few weeks of the transfer window left. There's still a chance that there will be business made after that. And, the chances are, I mean, if I'm going to get really technical with the question, even if we bought him now, is he going to play in that game? Or is he going to still get used to the team and all that? I mean, there are very many ways to look at that, but I wouldn't be annoyed at all. I'd still be pretty calm with that. But yeah, a couple of weeks from that moment onwards, I'll probably be more on a 6 or a 7, maybe pushing 7 on a panic scale, as you said.
Fair play. Yeah, it's a weird one. I actually follow this question up to you now, Jam, because going into the summer, just because it's such a big deal, and the Rice one, if we pull that off as well, is also such a big move, right? I never expected any of these deals to be done before mid-August, because usually big deals aren't. Like, obviously, the transfer window was a bit pushed later because of the whole global situation, right? But we only signed Havertz on September 10th or 9th as well, 5 days before the first Prem game, obviously. But still, it was very late in the transfer window. Big deals just take a while. So that's, but yes, I will get to Dan McCarthy's tweet in a second, guys. Give me a minute, right? That's I never expected us to get anything done, say, in July. Did you?
I was kind of optimistic.
Hoping.
Yeah, this is it. I was kind of optimistic because I was thinking he's not in the Euros. great time to do it. You know, I was kind of thinking, come on, just get it done, just get it done, just get it done. But I mean, the more you look at it, yes, big deals just take their time, don't they? Like Havertz, like you said. Yeah, I mean, are we going to get Rice as well? I'd probably say no. I think it's just going to be one of the two players, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest
I
there.
mean,
Yeah.
I'd probably agree. Like, I spoke to, obviously, Simon Johnson on here. If you haven't checked that video out, do so. It's on the channel. And he said he probably thinks at this point Rice is more likely next year, but he will probably still end up with us, basically. But hey, I suppose we'll have to wait and see. And I will get to Dan
Can't
McCarthy's
just get a
tweet.
DM this year.
Well, whether it's Tchouaméni or Kamara, we'll probably get someone, I suppose. But we'll get to the DM question.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Like, just because obviously so many people in the chat want me to talk about it. So Dan McCarthy tweeted in quote tweeting a question put to him saying, "Is the news that CFC News reported true?" And he said, "We've spoken privately, shared what we've heard / no. There's a reason I'm not tweeting / haven't tweeted an update recently." Yeah, I mean, you can read into that what you want. You guys know I'm a big fan of Dan. I get on with him very well. I'm sure he'll be on the channel again fairly soon as well. But you know, every source has different amounts of information, right? So if he doesn't know something, he might not say it. Or he's a similar situation with my theory where he knows, but he's told not to say it yet. Who knows? I mean, I could ask him privately, but I'm not right now because we're streaming. So, and then obviously he wouldn't tell me either. Or well, he might tell me, but he would tell me not to tell you guys, if that makes sense.
Ron's about to come in the know. Love to see it.
Hey, I'm always in the know. I'm just not telling anyone about it. Because then I just get people abusing me, and I'd rather not. So, you know.
You probably know when the deal's actually happening.
Exactly. Hey, yesterday, bro.
He's just milking YouTube now, isn't he?
Exactly. That's all I'm doing. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the announcement. Now, I want to put this on further to you, Con. Would you be particularly bothered if we turned up with the exact same lineup that started the Champions League final against Villarreal?
Not so much. Probably not. As long as I knew there was someone coming. If we can land Haaland, and he's not in that Super Cup game, I'm not going to be too mad at it because he's time to adapt, etc. And do you know what would be funny? Just to clown Arsenal and United, saying we beat the team that knocked you out of the Europa League with the same team we had last year. It's too easy. So for me, that's not a problem. Because I've got no problem with Kai Havertz playing 9 next season. My only problem is he can't play every game in 4 competitions at 9, you know? That's my problem. So seeing Kai Havertz play 9 and absolutely become the best player in England, which he's going to do, I have no issue with that. But it'll be a bit depressing. We just won Champions League, and after you win such a big trophy, you want to see signings, you know? Last time we won the Champions League, who did we sign? Eden Hazard, you know? The man himself. So, EH, you know, if you want to go by that, the Bois Freds, you know, he mentioned the EH in 2012, the EH in 2021.
Oh, Dubois and his Freds, man. I can't
it worked out last time.
Yeah.
It worked out
EH, you know, just giving him more ammo to do it again.
Yeah. That's my fault, bro.
Nah, but I would probably agree with you. We need to get one over. First of all, we need to win this trophy. We haven't won this trophy. Last time we played it, we lost on penalties. Cheers, Lukaku, by the way. The one time before we played that, we got absolutely smacked up by bloody Radamel Falcao, and I was fuming. I remember I was on holiday with my family, right? And I forced my parents into some restaurant where they had a TV so I could watch the game, right? While we were having dinner. And then we just got smacked, and I was fuming. I was a depressed little kid, I was. Right, anyway. So we need to win this trophy. Not only because they beat Arsenal, which makes it even funnier. Not only because they beat Man United, which makes it even funnier. And also so we can say good evening to everybody. But I just need to win this trophy because we haven't won it yet. I really, really need us to win this trophy. But Lewis, obviously, you know, no one better at taking the piss than you are. But
6 trophies were in the run for this season. I want them all. Every last one of them. Actually, no. When is the Club World Cup? Is it in December or is it next summer?
December, isn't it? I think it's December.
You see, this is what I don't know because they were meant to change the Club World Cup, weren't they? But now because of COVID,
it's meant to be a 4-year event now.
Yeah. So, but because of COVID, it's all got delayed. So I'm not sure if it takes place normally in December and the one in the summer, or if we only get the one in the summer.
Wait, so we're in potentially 2 Club World Cups.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. If anyone knows in the chat, please let us know.
Off, to be honest, we'd end up winning it, have to do another Club World Cup in about 6 months, and we might lose our reign, and then someone else has it for 4 years.
No, look at it positively, bro. Just
how many games are these guys playing there? This is a bit ridiculous.
Like I said, I don't know if this summer thing is happening. Obviously, there's no tournament this summer because the World Cup, or next summer because the World Cup is like in the middle of the year, November, December, right? But yeah, so I think they were meant to change the Club World Cup to a structure, like Lewis said, like was it every 2 years, every 4 years, one of them. And
I think it's every 4 years with the last 4 Champions League winners in there.
Yeah,
And-
last Champions
and the last
League
4
winners,
Europa
and then the
League
same
winners.
of South America, like the Copa Libertadores, and probably from Asia as well, stuff like that. There's echoes.
I think Europa League winners are in there too.
Yeah.
Because I heard that because we won the Europa League, but we're already in from the Champions League, Arsenal might take our spot.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I
to be
know.
honest,
They
I don't
fought
know.
their way
Someone
into
in
the
the
Club
chat
World
said
Cup. Here
it's
we
in
are.
December. If it's in December, it's in December. I want to win the one in December, right? I want to win the first other one, sure, but I want to win that because it still bugs me that we lost to bloody Corinthians back in 2012. Still annoys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know how much I wanted the badge on my shirt?
Exactly.
Even if the Premier League would only let us wear it once because they're stingy like that.
And the worst thing is, and that's another incredible badge that we'd have on this fucking dreadful T-shirt. Do you know what I mean?
Oof! Yeah, I don't even need to get a Club World Cup shirt. Love that. Actually, no. If they make a World Champions kit, it is what it is.
It's true. It's true. Hey, Chino's confirmed it. Club World Cup in December, bro.
All right,
So,
cool. Big
Chino's
up
must
Chinos. It's been a minute.
Exactly. Chinos must know. I can't remember where we were. So I'll ask you the question, Lewis. Would you be bothered if we turn up with the same lineup against Villarreal? And then we'll get onto a few other stories, obviously.
Again, it all depends on what the Haaland situation is. If we have Erling Haaland, then it's cool. Or if he's close, then cool. If not, and we can't get a striker, I'll be a bit annoyed. But again, like, we aren't in a bad position. Like, it's not 2017. It's just going to be a bit of a, not even a step back, but just a pause. But we'll be fine for the season with or without a striker. Because at the very least, if we're not getting a striker, we're getting in a DM. But nothing to panic about. There's nothing to worry about.
Hey, I agree. And obviously, because we're talking about striker, we probably should touch on the whole Tammy Abraham story that, apparently he's agreed personal terms with Arsenal. I'm not sure where this story came from. So I'm just going to, take it with a big pinch of salt, but let's discuss it, I suppose. And, Jester put it into the chat very early. The Haaland stuff is heating up if you find out that Tammy has agreed personal terms with Arsenal, because clearly we wouldn't allow any of that if we didn't have Haaland close on the line. So, I suppose you can twist things every way you want. But Tammy to Arsenal. I know you hate Arsenal, Lewis. I don't like letting our players go to Arsenal. I know you hate Arsenal, is what I said. I don't like letting players go to Arsenal, even less so when they're young. Like, it's one thing letting Willian go there. It's one thing letting David Luiz go there. It's even another thing letting Petr Cech go there because he wanted to stay in London. But I didn't like any of these three either. Tammy, I'd not be a fan at all, but how do you see it?
See, I'm glad you said it as well, because do you know the amount of Tammy slander that comes down on my comment section? It is ridiculous, man. I don't think I've seen a player get slandered this bad since Morata, and he weren't even that bad. But everyone's getting gassed because we're selling the Tammy at his form right now. But I've been saying it's not his final form. Like, Tammy is going to get better at Arsenal. He's a project signing, and they're both their clubs trying to go on the up, and they are going to get better too. As much as I hate to say it, the only reason why people aren't noticing it is because of what Arsenal's ambition is. Our ambition is to win the Premier League. Their ambition is to get back into the top four and get Champions League money back into their club.
Well, first, their ambition is probably getting back into the Europa League, but
Oh, yeah, but that's their long-term goal, isn't it? Their long-term goal is get back in the top four. And Tammy is a step towards that, and he's going to get better at Arsenal regardless. And he's also going to have a point to prove every single time he plays us. He's going to do whatever he can to fuck us over every single game that he plays. I don't want him to go to Arsenal. I think Aston Villa are interested, Leicester are interested, Man United, West Ham, all inquired about Tammy Abraham. Sell him to any of those. Like, why are we going to help Arsenal up? If they want to get a player from us, it's over 30s or nothing else. I don't want to help them for anything. Tammy Abraham will get better at Arsenal. Even if he ends up getting sold, he'll get sold at a profit there. He's a quality striker. We wouldn't have given him the reins for a year if we didn't know the quality that he possessed. He's just too raw for Chelsea right now. And he also won't sign a new deal, so we have to get rid of him. But Tammy is really not as washed as people make him out to be. At the age of 24 years old, like, come on, he's our top goal scorer the last 3 seasons. On the bounce, back to back to back. I do not want this guy at Arsenal because he will get better there.
Yeah,
I only say 3 because of the loan spell. Even at Villa, he got more numbers than any of our players did.
I was about to ask you.
Championship though.
I know, but it fits into my agenda.
Yeah, but fair play. I completely agree. I mean, I'm still hoping, and Simon Johnson did kind of, pretty sure if I remember correctly, kind of touch on it a little bit in terms of Tammy could still be with, Rice, and then I'd be much more of a fan of giving to West Ham. I don't really care. Let him do his thing there. All the best to him if that does so happen. But to Arsenal,
Rice there.
Go on.
He might keep Rice there.
Well, obviously use him in a swap deal, right?
Oh, if it's a swap, oh god, yeah.
Not a direct swap.
Send him to Villa. Send him to Villa.
We offer them, say, 50 million for Rice, and then say, but in turn, we give you Tammy for 10, right? So it's like, writing tax off. That's what all the clubs are thinking about, writing off taxes. That's all they care about. So that's why you don't see official swap deals, because that's kind of unhelpful to anybody, because you can't really launder money that way. But, if you give someone a cheaper deal, you can still write it off. That is obviously a little bit handier. But let me get to you, Con. Tammy to Arsenal, would that be something that would upset you, or do you not really care as long as we get the money?
I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I couldn't care where he goes. I like Tammy. I always have. He's one of, with that Loftus-Cheek era, when that sort of youth age was coming through, and Tammy was one I liked. I watched him at Swansea. I watched him I think it was Bristol. Watched him at Villa. So I've always liked him, but I don't think he's good enough for Chelsea. Do I think he's going to become a top elite striker? No, don't. I'm sorry. I think he's a 5'10" player in a 6'3" person's body. I don't think he's ever going to be able to use his strike, his height effectively. Like, if you look at Tony, for instance, from Brentford, he reminds me of Tammy a little bit with the size, and he uses his body really well. And I don't know, if he goes to Arsenal, I'm not worried about Arsenal. Tammy doesn't turn them into a potential top 4 team. I'm sorry, I don't think he does. I think their problems is more defensive than attacking, to be honest. So I wish him good luck. And if he wants to go Arsenal, I know he's an Arsenal fan. I think everything he gave us during that season, when we had the transfer ban, he deserves to go where he wants. I don't think we have a right to complain if he wants to go Arsenal. If he wants to go there, we wish him good luck. Sucks it's Arsenal, but it's not like it's a team that we're too worried about these days. I'm sorry. Arsenal got a way to go before I get worried about them again. And I don't think Tammy really, I don't know. He doesn't boost them that enough where it bothers me, I'm just going to keep it. I know a lot of people probably disagree, but I'm just being honest.
I hear what you're saying. For me, it's because someone said in the chat, the disrespect Tammy gets. And I want to just clarify my point of view on this. I would love to keep Tammy. I want to keep Tammy. I think I agree with the comment. I think Tammy is incredibly disrespected. To some extent also by Tuchel. If there's one thing I don't like about what Tuchel has done in his time here, it's I think Tammy deserved a bit more chances, considering how many chances a few other players got with their level of performance, especially at times. But he's only got 1 year left on his contract, or 2, or whatever. And he is refusing to sign a new contract because he wants big money, and we're not willing to offer him that big money. And he doesn't want to be second choice striker. And hey, as much as I would always prioritize the well-being of Chelsea and the success of Chelsea over any individual players, that's when Lewis Spate leaves, or Livramento if he's about to leave as well. I'm it's a bit disappointing. Obviously for them individually, it's probably great because they have probably a more guaranteed successful footballing career if they don't have to hope and bank on Chelsea, because Ruben did it that way, and I love Ruben more than anything. But for his personal career, it was probably not great to stay at Chelsea for that long. Let's not kid ourselves. But still, if I think about Chelsea, I would want Tammy to stay. I think he would be a very good second, third choice striker to have. I think he'd be brilliant for that. He knows how to score a goal. Yeah, he's not like Con said. he's not. He doesn't really know how to use his height and his body that well, and he's not good in the air. But he still knows how to score goals, even if it's stupid goals. At least it's someone that scores stupid goals. Because aside from if we sign a striker, none of our other players score any stupid goals. They just miss tap-ins. So that's why I'm like, let's not be too harsh on Tammy saying he isn't good enough at this and he isn't good enough at that when all the other players miss tap-ins week after week after week. Do you know what I mean? So that's all I'm trying to say. But we still nearly have 800 people watching, which is huge. So make sure you smash the like button, though. We just have over 200, which is not bad. But considering we have 750, 800 people, we need to get to at least 400 likes right now. So go down below, smash the like button. Doesn't cost you any money, barely cost you any time. And if you have any topics that you really want us to discuss, be sure to use the super chat function because there's a lot of people in the chat. So I can't necessarily pick out individual ones. So if you want to use that, please do. Jam, just quickly, I'll ask you as well about Tammy to Arsenal before we move on. Is that something that bothers you, or do you agree? Are you more on Con's page where you're like, hey, we need to do what we need to do?
You know what? It's just going to sound like I'm sitting on the fence FC over here. I mean, to be honest, a bit of both, a bit of what everyone said here. I think long term, Tammy, with what Arsenal are trying to do, can grow with them, and he can become a more prolific striker that's more consistent, and we won't be calling him Tammy Abraham. Do you know what I mean? This guy, he's got the potential. He's 24. We've seen it with Drogba. I'm not saying he's on that level necessarily, but some people just develop late and go to that next stage late. And I think with Tammy, if he goes to a team that trusts in him, that's at a decent level, I actually think he could do really well. If he's the main man, I think he could do. So long term, yes. But in the immediate future, I wouldn't be too bothered about that because, Arsenal, they need an awful lot more than Tammy Abraham to get them back to anywhere near being rivals with us. They really do. I mean, you look at the points difference last season, it actually wasn't that much in the end, but we were pushing on multiple fronts. Do you know what I mean? So I actually think we could have done a little bit better in the league if we were just focusing on that. So, that's a big middle finger to Liverpool, Arsenal, all of those teams. But Tammy, he could do bits. I'm not completely writing him off. I just think for him, he's at that crucial stage where he needs to be the main man. He needs to be playing. So he can't afford to be on our bench. I'd love him to be on our bench. I'd love him to be our second, third striker, but it's not right for him. That's why he's not signing. I get it. He needs to move on to something better for him. And I think we could cash in now, get 40 million. If we get that, great. We're all happy. Do you know what I mean? So if it's Arsenal, so be it. But long term, that might come back to bite us in the arse. And I'm already picturing him doing a knee slide in front of the shed end and just being like, what? You know what I mean? But yeah, big up Tammy. Let him do what's best for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. You need to do what you need to do, even though I'd personally love him to stay. If he doesn't want to and he doesn't have that much left on his contract, then we're going to have to sell him. And if Arsenal give us 40 million and the other ones don't, well, I suppose you're going to have to, swallow that pill. Go on.
Just want to say one thing. They've just confirmed Ben White, though. That's 50 million. So is that realistic?
I don't know where Arsenal get that money from or what they do. I don't know. Like I said, I'd still prefer him to go to Everton. So it's a tough one. And actually, just quickly, because I got reminded by someone in the chat about it, people say, but the Haaland stuff isn't true because Fabrizio. I even think Fabrizio's tweet from yesterday hinted at this Haaland story right now being true. Because if you read the tweet, what he said is, there has been no bid yet. Sounds to me like a bid's imminent. I'm going to twist it that way anyway. What you going to do about it? Anyway, just one last bit of striker news that I want to discuss from Germany. The report has come out that Bayern Munich might be interested in Timo Werner, both to play him alongside Lewandowski and also potentially to be an intermediate replacement if Lewandowski leaves next summer probably, and they don't have this immediate replacement, for example, a Haaland right next year. What do you make of that one? Obviously, this is only ever even something to consider if we get Haaland/Lukaku. Without that, it's obviously not even an option. But would you guys be up for that? I know, Lewis, you said all along last season, Timo needs a second season. He deserves a second season, and you probably say the same for Hakim Ziyech, right? But depending on the money, do you still stick by that, or what do you reckon?
Do I stick by what? Timo Werner having a second season?
Yes, or would you take an offer if that makes sense?
If they wanted Werner in a swap deal for Haaland, I'd rather Werner stays, but same way, I'm not really gonna say no like that. I know Werner would rather stay. and he doesn't want to leave this year anyway. I think it's mainly because he doesn't want his time in England to be looked as like a flop, and also because in some aspects he had a terrible first season, in some aspects he had a pretty decent first season. I don't think his story's done yet at Chelsea Football Club, so I would want to see him stay anyway. But if Dortmund come in and say like they want Haaland as part of the deal, they want Werner as part of the deal, not gonna say no to it. I can't. The only attacking players that I wouldn't get rid of are Hudson-Odoi, what's his name, Kai Havertz, and Mason Mount. Other than that, I think everybody. What?
And Reece James.
Oh yeah, I meant more attacking players, but yeah, Reece James as well too. But yeah, it's only those three, and everyone else, to be honest, if they wanted them, go for it. Timo Werner will get better, but he's always going to struggle against low blocks, unless maybe he just starts opening up more space for Erling Haaland, and he makes it easier for him to adjust to the Premier League. Christian Pulisic, injuries. Like next season could be a great breakout season for him because it's the first time he's had a full pre-season at Chelsea. So it's still jury's still out on him. But if they wanted him back, it is what it is. I think with the same breath, though, if I say that for Christian Pulisic, I'd have to give Hudson-Odoi the same energy too. So you might have to throw him in there as well. But Mason Mount and Kai Havertz, if they want them, they can have. Then they stay. Everyone else, nah.
Fair play. I hear that. Con, let me go to you. Timo to Bayern Munich, kind of ignore where it's potentially going to. Would you consider selling him? Or is it a case of you need to give him another season?
I'd think about selling him if we make a profit. I like Timo.
Okay. So, sorry to interrupt you again. I think it would be very unlikely for us to make a big profit.
So we're talking about 50, 60 mil, more or less what we paid for him anyway.
Yeah.
If we don't make a big profit on it, then I would say if we sign like a Grealish, then yeah. But if we don't sign like a winger, then no chance because we just don't have the depth really. Lewis, you really got me fuming with that Pulisic thing. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
Overall, it is what it is. Like I would get rid if they asked for him, and it's not even against them as players because I still think they can all succeed at Chelsea. It's just everyone wants to get Erling Haaland in at all costs. I'm saying the only players that are untouchable for me are Mount and Havertz.
Yes, mate. I understand that. I'm gonna put my bias to the side for a sec. I don't know if Bayern had the money for Werner. I think they announced like 150 million loss, bro. I don't think they're paying 50, 60 million for Timo Werner. They could do. Who am I to say they wouldn't? But I don't know, man. It's one of those.
I agree with that.
I'm probably saying yeah now, but you need to see the context of it, like who Chelsea are getting, who Chelsea have got, who are Chelsea preparing to get. Like you need to be in that position. You need to know what's going on. Are we going to sign another winger or not? Are we definitely getting Haaland or not? Like so, it's one of those. Before I give it like a true answer to myself, I'd have to see like the context of it. But I'd like to see Timo have another season, like because surely he can't be as bad as he was in terms of in front of goal as he was last season. And if
you bloody hope so, imagine it get worse,
bro. If he just doubled like his scoring rate last season, bro. If he just at least doubles that his chance conversion.
If he doubled it, I know. Sorry, that's just in all competitions. I was going to say he scored more than Diego ever did for us. I mean, it's true in all competitions, but still, Diego scored 20 in the Prem. Timo Werner scored 6. Brilliant. Let me push it on because I just saw something in the chat which I hadn't even considered yet. I haven't heard a single rumor about Michy Batshuayi.
Oh.
What's happening with that guy? Like, obviously we
could have got rid of him to leave.
However his name is actually pronounced. Does anyone know how Broja's name is pronounced? I don't know. Anyway, because it's weird because he's of Albanian heritage, but his first name is Armando, which clearly ain't Albanian now, is it? Anyway, what a guy. I hope he does well. Anyway, just as a last bit of striker thing, is Michy Batshuayi an option that could stay as the fourth choice striker or no?
Behave, Laurenz.
Oh no!
I'm just saying, what if we can't find anyone that buys it? Right?
No.
If Michy is the answer, you're asking the wrong questions for this football club, my G. No.
What I'm saying is, what if we can't sell it?
For too long.
What
That's
if we
our
can't
own
sell
fault. That's our own fault, bro. Like, what's his name? Leeds United wanted him for 10 million and we haggled for another 5. Now we're stuck with him on 100k a week for another year. We did that to ourselves.
Yeah, exactly, bro. I'm not entertaining a Bashaway in a Chelsea shirt, bro. I can't do it.
He can't do a thing, man. Other than finishing with his first touch, he has nothing to the table. Nothing.
It's already more than Timo Werner.
Maybe he'll give us like 190th minute goal or something because he's good at that. But that's it. Nothing else.
Bro, you was in Amsterdam when he scored that winner.
I've seen 3 of the greatest limbs of all time because of Mishi. That's all he's offered this club. And that's
It's
it.
true.
That and games against Watford out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Werner brings more. Yeah. 100%.
How many big winners has Timo Werner scored for Chelsea?
Laurenz, stop this, please.
We are not doing Mishi prop.
Sorry.
Fine.
I just take it a piss. Let's move on to midfielders, all right? Because obviously we let Billy Gilmour go on loan. So we currently have 3 midfielders. Jorginho, obviously future Ballon d'Or winner in 2021. N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic. And obviously about 15 million loan players. Bakayoko, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Conor Gallagher. Bloody Lewis Baker is still in at Cobham, right? What on earth do we do? Obviously, whether we signed Rice, Tchouameni, whatever else, what happens to all these loanies? Do you think any of them is going to stay? Whether it's Ruben as this super sub option. You know, I spoke about this with my girlfriend last night, and she was like, what if we used Ruben like we used Kovacic sometimes last season? You know, when we're 1-2 goals, 1 goal up, 10, 15 minutes to go, and we brought on cover for Timo Werner to like make it a midfield 3 and be more defensive. That would be great for Ruben, because you know how Tuchel goes on about height all the bloody time. So having a Ruben as an option, I'd rather play Ruben than play Alonso for height. You know, I'm never a fan of that. Am I still connected?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I wasn't sure whether Jam's face was just so still or whether he was frozen.
Mate, I could do that, man. Chameleon settings.
Exactly. But let me actually go with you first, Jam. Do you think any of these guys that I just mentioned, and feel free to throw in anybody else that I might have forgotten about, could stay?
But I mean, look, anything's possible. I'm not going to say that they're definitely not staying, but I can tell you now, Bakayoko's going. Conor Gallagher probably needs to go on loan. Ross Barkley, not for me.
Forgot about him.
Yeah. Look, I know he's like the preseason Zidane and all that, or whatever everyone calls him, but I don't need to see that. I don't think he suits our style of play, if I'm completely honest. Lewis Baker, I mean, I didn't even know he was still on our books, to be honest. No disrespect to him, but let him go and make it, finish off his career elsewhere. I think that it's that time now. Loftus-Cheek, that's an interesting one. I think it may depend on his preseason, Look, I mean, we all know about this loan rule, I think, that's coming in from next season, the start of next season. So loan FC is going to be no more. We can only loan in or out 8 players in one go, yeah? So this whole thing needs to change, which is why I think it kind of plays into the exodus a little bit. But we're not going to have much space long term for these players to keep going on loan. Like we're going to have to get rid of some of these. And I think from that list of 5 that I've just said, funnily enough, Bakayoko is the profile of player that we would be looking for to bring in, but he's obviously not the player for us. I think Loftus-Cheek has a chance of staying. I really do. As long as he's happy with bit part playtime, because I don't think he's going to be starting, obviously. No. Even if we were to change to a 4-3-3, I don't think he'd be starting. But, if he's happy to be on the bench and try and prove himself and grow into it, he will get his chance at some point this season. There are loads of games coming up. There will be injuries, So I think Loftus-Cheek has a chance, but I really, really would love us to bring in some sort of a DM. Yes, I've been saying Rice is the English John Obi Mikel and everyone wanted to kill me, but there are other players too. Yeah, I said that as a bit of a joke, only because I'll explain it. So the role that John Obi Mikel played in our team as that anchor, Rice would play that same role. I'm not saying they're on the same level.
I need to say something on this, because what John Obi Mikel back in those days was what Timo Werner is to me right now. He's the guy I just could not get along with properly. Like that's what John Obi was. But first of all, he had the number 12, which I think should be illegal for any footballer to ever wear. Which is, I'm fuming about Ruben having it. It's like, because I come from a place where the 12 is the number of the fans, right? So no player should have it. So I could get on with that in the first place, right? And then I can't even remember who we played against. I remember it was 2-1 up, 88th minute. And what is Johnny Mikel known for? What is he meant to be good at? Just keeping the ball, making sure nothing crazy happens. For the first time in his career, I felt like he tried to play an audacious forward pass, misplaced it. We lost the ball. We conceded 2-2. I was fuming. So when I saw that tweet of yours, I thought you're taking the piss at Declan Rice until I understood that actually, other than me, everyone loves John Obi Mikel.
Yeah, but he was a baller, man. Like John Obi. Do you know what? No, John Obi Mikel, he was a baller. And I didn't mean that in the sense of comparing them as players, other than Rice could play in the same position that he played for us. Because Mikel, look, big up Mikel. When he played for Nigeria, he was a number 10. Like, he had more to his game. He genuinely did. Like, he was a quality player. And I don't think we may have utilised him as much as we probably could have done. But it's only because he had that very specific role and we had other players to do the other things. And I could see Rice, if Rice came in, playing that exact role. No frills, just shut up shop. When he's on the pitch, that's the end of the game. That's what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? But going back to the point, I do want to see some sort of DM come in. If it's Tuchemeni, whoever, Kamara, I haven't seen an awful lot of him, but I just want to see a player coming in that position. It would be nice to see.
I agree. And just before I get on to the super chat and the number one and to Con and Lewis about this, the only slight worry I'd have for Ruben, because I do feel like he could stay, just because he'd be a very useful sub player to have. But I feel like even in games where, like you said, Jam, there's going to be so many games. But even then, I'm like, even in these like games where you start the second string side, I'm like, where would you start Ruben unless we change formation? Because we have 7 players for the front 3, so he's not going to play there. And he's not going to play as a 6. So unless we change the formation, where would Ruben ever start? That's my only thing where I'm not really sure.
Well, that might be it. It's more for versatility for me. Like, if we keep Loftus-Cheek this season, let's not make any judge about it. He's going to be kept as depth, but we have more games.
But surely you'd start him against like a League One side in the FA Cup. But even then, if we don't change formation, what position do you play in? That's what I'm saying.
No, but that's the thing. I expect us to change positions a lot more. Like, obviously, I think we'll revert to 5 at the back as our main one because we won the Champions League with it and we have the most players suited to it. But if we stick to the same formation, all we're going to do is just get caught out. Eventually, someone will figure out to play it against us, and then other teams will figure that out as well. I know people are saying Tuchel will be more flexible in the formation to not allow that to happen. But same way, Rangers just equalised. But same way, like the whole thing down with Sarri, with Lampard, with Conte, was that we played one formation and one formation only, and then we got caught out and exposed. Tuchel's not going to do that. We can play 4 at the back more if we get a DM in, which is we still need to go and do. And then that will allow us to be a bit more versatile. Or, worst case scenario, if we don't get a DM, we can still potentially play with 4 at the back against some more defensive teams. Like we saw that happen with Frank Lampard. And N'Golo Kante as a lone DM, as much as we've all vehemently said that he doesn't play as a lone DM, he can play it against teams that sit deep. And that's the one thing that we've always said. If you play teams that park the bus against you guys, Kante works because you're not going to press him. So we can revert to 4 at the back if we need to. Obviously, we do need to get a natural DM in order to do that. But we want to be more versatile as a side for next season. If you want to win the league, you have to be versatile. So I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about it anyway.
That makes sense. I do actually want to try something with the chat. I haven't tried before. I'll ask you a question now. And if you think yes, you put just the number 1 in the chat. And if you think no, you put the number 2, just so I get a feeling of what the chat thinks, basically. Because we still have over 700 people watching. By the way, get subscribed. We're on that road to 15K, I suppose. But let's get to 12K first. So please do subscribe. It means the world to me. But do you think Ruben Loftus-Cheek will remain as part of the Chelsea squad for the upcoming season? If you think yes, put 1 in the chat. Someone put 12. If you think no, put 2 in the chat.
Oh, for goodness sake!
You know, back in school when you've always got those kids that would just do the most annoying thing.
12. But also, like in school, it was funny.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man!
Oh man!
My man said carefree.
It seems very mixed. There's a lot of 1s and a lot of 2s. But maybe
I'm seeing more 1s.
Yeah. Someone
And someone's done
another
21.
21 here,
Right.
which I'm not sure. Jam even gave us a one. Big up, Jam. Let me read out this super chat here before I get to Con with this whole lonely question, because I feel like I haven't heard Con's beautiful voice in about 10 minutes. So we have a super chat here, but Phantom of Many Topics. $5 donation, appreciate it. Saying, I apologize for the disruption while you were on the coin show. It was not fair to you, but I was answering a question asked by someone else of the past. First of all, no worries. Second of all, thank you for the donation. And thirdly, yeah, I mean, I've seen it plenty of times, that you support many of us content creators, so no one's going to have a go at you. All right, Chino's tried to be funny, 12, because he doesn't mind, fair enough. But Con, what do you reckon about these loanies? Is Ruben the most likely out of any of them to stick around, or do you see anybody else potentially staying in the squad? Someone else earlier in the chat said Zappacosta. We didn't get Hakimi. We're probably not going to get the Adama Traore rumors. They died down very quick. I haven't heard anything about that in a while, at least. So, anyone? Zappacosta maybe as a backup right wing back? I don't know.
I feel like if anyone's going to stay from this current crop of loanies, I think it's going to be Gallagher, because we talk about that versatility and he can play the 8 and the 6.
But I feel like with Connor, there's been so many rumors, while with Ruben, there's not been any. So I feel like Gallagher's actually close to leaving again.
I think Ruben's would be more because it'd be hard to put him to a place where he'd want to go. I think Gallagher has a few more options, because I think he did have a good loan spell at West Brom last season. I think Tuchel could do good with Conor Gallagher, to be honest. I think he could be a really good player you could call in off the bench for some of them lesser games. I think he could do a job. Of course, loaning him, I feel, would be the best option for his development, but if he stays, I ain't going to have an issue with it. I think he's a pretty decent player, I can't lie. With Ruben, I'd like to see him stay just because I love Ruben. And, if he just flips that switch in his head, man, where he wants to turn it on, he will do wonders. But I don't know if he has that anymore. So I watched him at Fulham, and there was a few games he looked good, and there's a few games he looked really bad, Mm-hmm. So I'm not too sure about Ruben, but like you said, the loan list is a joke. Why am I seeing Danny Drinkwater at Cobham, man? I don't want to see that. I really don't.
Another one. Oh.
But how is he still here?
I mean, I know we've signed some bad players, and what was that dude called that stayed for like 4 years just picking up his wages?
It's another one.
Exactly.
Part two.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally,
On the bright side, 1 year left. He's gone after this year.
Hey, let's go.
Like, small positives and everything. You could only fleece us for 12 more months.
Just take a mill for him and get it done. I don't care about
No,
the fee.
he's not. It's Winston Bogart.
Yeah.
He's not leaving. It's 120k a week.
He's collecting. And
He's
all he has to do is
collecting.
then he'll say,
I
but I've got a kid.
I
I'm
respect it.
Well,
Yeah, bro. This guy loves the party and that, innit? So don't blame him.
We gave him those stupid wages when he finished 16th with Leicester City. It's on our. Collect your piece.
You know what we should do? If he's going to stay around anyway, we should just make him like the assistant to the kit man or something. Because he seems like a fun guy to have around. So, at least have him do something, I suppose.
Make him the mascot.
Mascot, yeah.
He's
I was
fun
gonna
to
say, don't
keep
make him
an eye
the
on.
waterman, because we'll actually be screwed if it's him.
We turn up with the wrong kit every time, flip's sake.
No, I'd be questioning what's in them drinks.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a spicy one. It's a spicy one. But someone in the chat, a few people actually mentioned Dujon Sterling, as I obviously mentioned Zappacosta there. Do any of you reckon Dujon Sterling might stick about?
I remember when so there was an old report from when Tuchel was at Dortmund, and he was interested in Dujon Sterling, and he looks committed to stay at Chelsea. And can I just say, I know this is a lot of people might disagree with me here. These academy players like Livramento, where is this entitled attitude come from these guys? Like, people say they want to move and better their career, but Livramento, there's competition there. We wanted to sign Hakimi, a right wing back. There's an opening for you if you just want to stay. You haven't played a Premier League minute yet, but you feel like you deserve to be in the Champions League winning team. Who else was it? Guy, I don't understand why he moved. Thiago Silva is literally 36 years of age. We want
I think Gay was because he didn't want to sign a new contract either.
But why? It's an entitled attitude. And when I heard Sterling come out and say, "I want to play for Chelsea, I'll do whatever it takes," that's what you want, man.
I know, Livramento is way better than Dujon Sterling.
You gotta understand.
Understand what? Like, he
many...
hasn't played a Premier League minute. Like,
no, but like, you also got to look at the pathway into the squad. Like, Chelsea are in for a right wing back still, regardless of Hakimi not going through. And there's still already Hudson-Odoi, Reece James, and Azpilicueta fighting for that spot. Mark Gay has to compete with about 7-8 centre-backs for that role anyway. Even though, to be honest, would moonwalk into the side next year with about everyone on 1-year deals left.
Exactly.
Except for
that's what I'm saying. Just buy
so
time.
I agree
Mark
with
Gay hurt, and I get that.
I actually agree.
We
agree
do have to understand with these youth players that a lot of them aren't going to stay at the club anyway. There's only 11 spots, and they all need regular game time to develop.
And they all want regular game time as well. So I agree with Con and Gray. I thought that one was a bit weird, that he wouldn't be happy to stay. But Livramento, as much as that one pains me, and Lewis Spate, I totally understand. Lewis Spate literally has Billy Gilmore in front of him, who's 2 years older, and Mason Mount, and we potentially signed Declan Rice. And even though they're getting on, we still have Jorginho. Kovacic, and Kante in front of him. So, like, how is Lewis Bay ever going to play for us? It's just not going to happen.
No, but
we're talking about height in the midfield and everything, and how we need someone imposing. Like, Lewis Bay is 5'5". He ain't making it either.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got Gilmore, we got Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante.
He's literally an English Billy Gilmore. That's literally what Lewis Bay is, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. But he's just 2 years younger, and that he's unfortunate about. And Livramento, he's a right wing back, I suppose. He's not even that good at right back, in my opinion. But who's in front of him? Reece bloody James, right? So he has another one of these young players. If whoever they had in front of them was 28, 30, 32, I think Livramento would have stayed. But because his competition is Reece James, who's like 2 years, 3 years older than him, and amazing, is probably why they didn't back themselves to ever manage to make themselves a starter. But I agree with you, Con. The Gueye he won, I find a bit weird. Because I even thought Gueye could stay in the squad this season. We sell Zuma, keep Gueye, give him a fair bit of game time, and next year he's a starter.
At the very least with Gueye, like, we got first refusal. And with the De Bruyne transfer, that was the one thing that pissed me off, that we didn't have anything on that. We're learning from our mistakes at least. Yeah, we'll probably have to pay a bit to get him back, but 20 million for a guy who hasn't started a league game, I'm not surprised the club accepted it, especially with him not re-signing a new contract. But we got to expect it with these youth players. It will happen a lot more times than we want it to happen, but that's how good our academy is, and that's how strong our squad is. There's too many players and not enough spaces.
Bro, my problem is people crying that they're going as well. Like, if they want to leave, fine.
Yeah, that's embarrassing, though.
Like,
that's hella embarrassing.
People are saying, don't care Kimi because we got Livramento, but this guy don't even want to stay here. Like, do you remember that? Everyone was like, oh, we got Livramento.
No, but don't even want to stay here. Doesn't even like that. I want to pause before you get to that point. Don't get Hakimi because we have Livramento, who hasn't even played a minute for our first team. Well, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, there's that.
You talk about academy sexuals, man. Like, goodness me.
Look, we love to see our youth players come through and do well and all of that. Yeah, it's been brilliant, but that sentiment FC, like, we need to think about the club first and foremost. And do you know what I must say? I do back these guys that actually do leave the club. I actually think, yeah, fair play to you. You're taking a big decision, looking at your career. Fine, you don't think it's going to be at Chelsea for whatever reason because maybe your path to the first team's blocked or whatever, or they think that they could play first team football straight away here and now, rack up over 30 appearances in the Premier League. I back that. I actually think fair play to you. Good luck. Let's see what you can do. Obviously, when you're playing against Chelsea, fuck you. But fair play. Do you know what I mean? Fair play to them. Like, fair play to them.
I get what you're saying with that. I 100% get what you're saying. It's a weird one because on the one hand, you have someone like Mason who just always had this drive. I'm gonna make it no matter what. No matter what you put in front of me, no matter whether you sign Kai Havertz, no matter what you do, I'm just gonna get so much better that you're not gonna not start me.
Exactly.
And if these players had that same attitude, sure, but like
it was that and the transfer ban, like things fell in the right place.
But no, of course. But since then, still, like Mason Mount had a good first season, but then Kai came. That could have ruined Mason, but instead, Kai has to fight for his place, not Mason.
But again, it's the transfer ban, because without the transfer ban, Sarri stays. Eden Hazard, you're not really so sure about. He might leave anyway. But regardless, we would still not have a transfer ban, and we probably wouldn't have Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard's the one that pushed the youth through as well. Everything fell in the right.
Genuinely, Mason. To be fair,
actually,
so
no. Yeah, correct. He did. So I'll give you that one. for me, like I thought the only youth player that would have made it without the transfer ban would have been Reece James. Because Aspie's still at the period where he's about to start declining, and the hype Reece James was having before he came to Chelsea, like, even for youth players, like no one had the hype Reece James was on. So I do think he would have broken in regardless. But Mason Mount, I'll give you too. Like that came over my head that Sarri wanted him to stay too. I still do think like for the academy and for most of the other players in general, it's about the right time because we never used the academy like that. And now that we're back at the top, we're not using the academy like that anymore anyway. It was always pick the elite out of the academy, like the top tiers.
But I will also say this, right?
For loan fees.
I will also say this. It was always, and people seem to kind of ignore that, even if we still had Lampard, because now a few of the players in the first team are academy players. That makes it more difficult for more academy players to come in. Because if our average squad was, say, 26 upwards, then there would be much more of a possibility for the academy players to be pushed in. But when a fair few of our players are actually between 19 and 22 and 23, then obviously that makes it way more difficult to bring any more academy players in. So we were always going to have, if it ever happened, and thankfully it did, always going to have 1 or 2 years where we bring you through. The ones that make it, and then for another 5 years you struggle. And then in 5 years you get another batch. It was always going to be that way.
Yeah, and let's think about this. What is success for the academy team? Success is building on our reputation of developing Premier League level players. So, that doesn't actually have to be with Chelsea necessarily, because we want to then attract the best young talents in the future. We want to get the elite of the elite. So if this, Lewis Bate goes and actually becomes a regular Premier League player, plays right through his career in the Premier League, that's a success. He's come from Chelsea. You add all of that up, that's a success as much as Mason Mount, that's Reece James. Other players that are really talented are going to want to come to the academy team as younger players, and then one day we might see them in the first team, all because of all of these Lewis Bates, Livramentos. Do you know what I mean? So that's also success. We need to think about it like that. Also, commercially, it's a business. Let's not forget that. It is a business. So we've just made, 1.5 million off a player that's never played in the Premier League and sold into a Premier League club. That's success.
I don't know.
Remember that too.
To be fair, Jam, but what it costs for like the training of like the housing and all that, it probably isn't really much money we're making when we sell one for 1.5.
Oh, great he is.
No, great, yeah. But he's the one that doesn't make this, like the Livermento one and the like debate one is fairs. Like it annoys me a little bit because I'm thinking if you're Livermento, you stay in one more season at least, innit? But what is what it is. But with the guy one, that's the one. It's a good deal. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great deal. But I thought for him, the Champions League winners, it's never going to be easy to break into that team. But it made so much sense for him to stay, It really did. With Thiago Silva's age, like you said, the contracts on the players, it just made so much sense. And when he left, I was like, fair enough to him, but do you really think you're going to develop and become a better player at Palace than if you just waited to play at Chelsea? I don't think so. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that, but I think he gives himself, in theory, a better chance of having a longer footballing career.
Yeah.
Like Ruben. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I love Ruben more than anything. People know this. He's my favorite player. But let's be honest, if he left 4 years ago, he would be at a much different stage of his career right now. Obviously, the injury ruined everything. But still, even at the point of the season of the injury, he was already 23 at that point. So, he was already not young by the time he actually got to play. And he only had one loan before that, which is a bit of a weird one. Let me just...
Stupid friendly, man. I'm never going to get over it.
Honestly, never.
Obviously, respect the cause and everything, but stupid timing.
Yeah, 100%. I've had this super chat up for a minute on the screen again by Phantom of Many Topics, saying if we wanted battered, injured, not Ruben Loftus-Cheek, get Hazard. Not 100% sure what you mean. I presume if we wanted injured players, don't talk about Ruben, get Hazard back. I suppose fair enough, but Hazard costs us money. Ruben is already here, so that's the difference. The last player that I want to mention before we round it out here, because we've been going for quite a while already, is a player that a few people in the chat mentioned already, but also someone that had an interesting last couple of years, really. Ethan Ampadu, right? So he was all this hype, right, under Sarri, and we was like, okay, he could be a player. Sarri using him every now and again. Then we loaned him to Leipzig. And that was potentially one of the worst loans Chelsea have ever pulled off. Like the guy played 2 games. But then he played that Champions League game at Tottenham and was amazing. Was literally man of the match or something in that game. And we was all getting hyped again. And then we loaned him to Sheffield United, which seemed like a good loan move because they finished, 7th the season before? And then, he starts all the time, both at centre-back and in midfield, but then they finished bottom with one of the worst points tallies in Premier League history. And now we're sat here is he good? Is he not? Should we even consider him? He should probably have come back to the squad yesterday with the Germans and stuff and the French, because obviously Wales made the round of 16. So do any of you guys have any hope or idea that he's going to stay, or are we going to sell him? Are we going to loan him? Because like Jam said, obviously we have one more year, but from next year, the whole having 40 loanies will be cut down. I think there's still a few stipulations. I think in your own country, you can still have more. And I think in certain age groups, you can still have more. But still, it's going to drastically...
in our own country. Nice. So that don't even touch us too much then.
Yeah, I'm not... but don't quote me on this. But I heard it's like, yes, it's 8, but I think you get a few more under certain circumstances. Anyway, still, it's not going to be 40 anymore. So do we sell Ampadu now? What happens with Ampadu, Lewis? I
don't even know. I've got the Carefree Youth Patreon thing up here, but he says he doesn't even know where Ethan Ampadu is. He hasn't even been seen in training yet, so I don't even know what's happening with him.
Interesting.
Would I like to see him in the squad? Don't think he's done enough yet to stay into the team. I think keep him in the Premier League at a club that potentially isn't guaranteed to go down like Sheffield United are. Maybe try to put him a bit higher up in the table if a club comes for him. But it'll probably be something later on in the window. And Chelsea are also looking at so many other different loan players that they're trying to get rid of. Just looking at the stuff right here, Matson's going Coventry, Baba Rahman could be going Olympiacos, Swansea's been looking at George McEachran. Cario Ziga has a few League One teams looking at him. Henry Lawrence is looking like he's going to Wimbledon on a half-season loan.
Yeah, that is pretty much confirmed today, I think.
Yeah, Broho's options in the Championship and the Eredivisie. Ike Ugbo's deal to Genk has been ramped up since they moved to Ireland. Alonso and Emerson have both been made aware that they should look for a new team, but the only problems is the offers that the Italian clubs are looking for them. Zappacosta's in the same situation. Inter want him and Alonso, but they can't afford it. Conor Gallagher's had talks with Leeds and Crystal Palace. Trevor Chalobah's just had a lot of options. Matt Miazga, Lewis Baker, Barkley and Drinkwater are all aware that they're not needed by the club this season, but nothing's really progressed with any of them. Dujon Sterling might sign a new deal, so there's a positive. And Loftus-Cheek's been impressing Tuchel with Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech. The rest are just all random names, and that I don't even think have been in the team for too long. But yeah, Chelsea's trying to get rid of a lot of loan players.
Yeah, it's crazy. How long that list is mind-boggling anyway. The amount of, that took you a full 2 minutes to say all of that. It's mental.
There's still about 7 other names here. It's just Dino Simu and Jake Wakely and other players I don't even think have played a minute for us.
That's the thing. If all of these players we were talking about were, say, sub-20 or sub-21, that's one thing. But you mentioned there Barkley, Drinkwater, Zappacosta, Alonso, Emerson. I mean, I like Emerson, but still. And a few others that I forgot now. It's crazy. And Charlie Musunda, by the way, people need to drop this hype again. I know people was hyping it. He didn't even play against Peterborough. He wasn't even involved, right? Charlie Musunda is not going to play a role. I don't know whether we'll sell him or loan him or whether we'll just put him in the under-23s for the whole season, but he's not going to be in the first team. Get this out of your heads right now.
Yeah, it says he has to wait in Ireland until he's allowed to travel back. But it also says it might give him and his agent time to sort a deal out. So from the sounds of it, he's going to be on his way out too.
Yeah, exactly. And Carefree Youth didn't even mention either Tino Anjorin or Michy Batshuayi there.
No, wait. Batshuayi, Kennedy, and Bakayoko are set to sit down with Tuchel next week, but I think we all know what they'll be told as well. And who's the other name you said? Tino Anjorin. Yeah, there's nothing on Tino Anjorin, to be honest. Yeah, there's nothing on him.
It's weird. I mean, maybe he'll just stay around again. I don't really know. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to leave it here. We still have nearly 700 people watching, so I really do appreciate the support today. It's been absolutely mental. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Honestly, it's just one click of a button. It's this huge red button down there. Just click it. It'd be fantastic. Smash the like button as well. Let me see how many we have, because we definitely don't have enough. But let me see how many we have. We currently have 333, which is a nice number, but let's ruin it. Let's get to at least 400. Get down below. Smash the like button for me right now. Honestly, massively appreciate it. It's great for the algorithm, you know. YouTube likes on things. It really helps us out. So, you know, smash the like button. If you're watching this at a later point, if you watching this later and you got 1.5 hours, first of all, I love you. Second of all, please leave a comment down below, because that's the same with the likes. It helps with the algorithm. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave it here. Thank you to all of you three for coming on. Of course, their links will all be down in the description. Check out Mr. Verified on Twitter, Jam, of course, on Twitter at CarefreeJam, and of course at the Chelsea Social as well, both on YouTube, their website, and on Twitter. And of course, Lewis, his link is down in the description below as well. Help him get to 25k as soon as we possibly can. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. I'm not 100% sure if I'll do, because I'll probably do something on Chelsea Fan TV for the Bournemouth game. I'm not sure if I'll do one here as well. Otherwise, the next one will probably be next Wednesday, potentially Tuesday. So I'll see you then. Thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, and I'll see you next time.